Hello, welcome to Sister Confessions. We have Michelle and Desiree here. It's been a few weeks since we have recorded. It was the holidays, and we're back at them. The new year. So, Michelle, give us an update. How was Christmas, New Year's, all that fun stuff? How was it?
Yeah, so Christmas was interesting for us because um, Mariano got COVID.
Mm.
So, but it was tricky because it was going around at his job, and then he started feeling sick. So he was taking the test, the at-home test, and then they were negative for 2, 3 days, and then on the fourth day he got a positive test, and then on the fifth day, he got a negative test. So he got one day, he got a positive, and then all the other days were negative. So we were just like, we're gonna play it safe and not go anywhere.
Mm.
And that's happened to be like the week and weekend of Christmas. So we stayed home, and luckily our kids are little enough to not know that they're missing out because we didn't go see family or anything. So, I mean, we had our own Christmas here, but we didn't go see the extended families. Um, and then I made, so during that time of us quarantining ourselves, um,
No one
we
else
were
got sick?
making,
You didn't get sick? The kids didn't get sick?
the
COVID?
kids didn't get sick. I did get sick, but it was a little bit confusing because I made a roast. So this roast, the meat was frozen, and we were making cookies. So I took it out so that it would defrost during the process of making the cookies. And I was like, I had this like deep feeling or inner thought. It was like, don't cook this meat. And I argued in my head, it's defrosting, and then when it's defrosted, okay, everything will be fine. It was frozen, so you defrost it, you cook it, everything's fine. But I had this like gut feeling inside of don't make it, and I made it, and the family ate it. Everyone was fine. The next day, I didn't eat it that day actually because I earlier while even making all these cookies, I was snacking, and then I wasn't hungry at dinner time. But the family ate.
It kind of
Everybody.
reminds it kind of reminds me of whenever like the king they have the people where it's like you eat the food and make sure that it's not poisonous before I can eat
That is so funny because I didn't even intend it that way, but that's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
it.
It's not even true. Um, oh my gosh, yes, no, that's not what happened. I just
Try the
wasn't
meat
hungry.
family. I'm sure it's delicious.
But I had this like inner like gnawing feeling or thought. It was a thought of don't make it, and I did, and everyone was fine. So the next day, leftovers, I eat leftovers. Um, uh, I don't know. We grew up on leftovers, so that's how I live. I make food and then I eat whatever's left over the next couple of days. So the next day, the family also had the leftovers, but I didn't eat when the family did. I ate a little bit later, like a couple hours later, not that much later. But the food was out and I ate it. And at the time of me making it was just all bad. Okay, I make this roast and I have a specific like recipe that I use. So I need certain seasonings and stuff. But I didn't have any of that stuff. So I just winged it and used what we had. And it turned out good. The family said it was good. So everything was fine. But when I tasted it, it was kind of sour. And I thought, oh, maybe it's because I didn't use my typical recipe. And so I ate it, and then not even 30 minutes later, I was sick. So I haven't been this sick. I don't even know the last time I was this sick, but it was like TMI, I know, but it was coming out both ends at the same time, like all night.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, COVID got me.
Mm.
It didn't
COVID.
hit it didn't hit Mariano the way it hit me, but COVID doesn't hit people the same way. His was more like a cold. And then but then I had this
Remember.
thought in my head. It was, remember the meat that I told you not to make, and you made it. I didn't get lectured like that. I just like, oh, remember that food, and then I thought of all those things of, I should have listened to that inner, um I call it my inner voice, or people call it God, or people call it intuition, or your gut feeling, or there's so many things you could call it. Um but I that happens to me a lot, and when I don't listen, or when I don't yeah, when I hear it and I argue, I have a little bit of argument, and I do whatever, I go ahead with it, things always go wrong, always.
Hmm.
How how about you? Has that ever happened to you? Can you think of anything?
For having like a gut feeling about something and not following it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, well, and especially, so I kind of grapple with, well, blah, blah, blah. Let's start with I recently had a gut feeling about something with our teenage boy um in November. Like I mom's intuition, that's another thing, like mom's
Yeah.
intuition. I just felt like something was right. I didn't know what it was, and I was kind of like, um what is it? Trying to figure it out. It was bugging me for like a week. Like I just know something's not right. Like I just have this feeling that something's not good. And come to find out that was true. Our son had come and told us some stuff that was going on that we and so it was great. I'm like, I told my husband, I'm like, see, I knew it. Like, because sometimes I feel this is the other thing I was gonna say is that it's hard to discern what is right or wrong. You said every time you don't follow it, something goes bad, but there have been times where I just, like, if I'm scared to do something, I can't discern if that's like a into, like, say, this is just an example, but like if you're scared of flying, like, oh my gosh, something bad's going to happen, something bad's going to happen, but that's just fear, maybe not intuition. Sometimes it's just hard to discern what truly intuition is. So, yeah, that is what I have to say about that. I can't think of anything that well, there have been some things that I knew that it should do this or should do that, and I went against it selfishly or whatever, and it didn't go well, but I was making that conscious decision, I guess. That's also just knowing right from wrong. This is a little bit more ambiguous, like
Well,
you
mine, I could tell my, I could decipher like what you were saying, um, because I actually, it's not audible like outside, but
yeah.
it's a thought in my head that I know is not my thought. So it's not, it's more than a feeling. It's actual, like, a warning of words
Mhm.
that and before, and this happened. I remember the first time that happened to me. I was in elementary school, so it wasn't like just a gut feeling. It was words. Like I said, it's not like I hear voices, because it's not outside. It's a thought in my head, but it's not my thought, and that's really hard to explain or describe, because that's how I know the difference. Um I need to think more about that, on how to explain that more. But in elementary school, I was trying to fit in, because we all do. at some point in our lives. And but I wasn't being myself. And I think this was like third grade. So I was 8. Yeah, 8. And I was trying to fit in, but that's not who I was. And I got a thought in my head that wasn't my own thought. And it was like, it said, I heard, um, like, kind of like, don't, what are you doing? And then don't worry about them. You have me. Like, and it was me. Like, you have me. Like, I have myself. Like, I don't, why am I trying to be different for people to like me? I'm fine the way I am. That was kind of the message, but I didn't understand it like that because I was 8 and it didn't say those specific words. But I remember that was the first time like I heard a thought that wasn't my thought, and it was like, we're fine. And I held on to that, and ever since then I get a feeling about something, or I hear, um like, the meat, don't make that meat. But I it wasn't my, that's how I could tell. I can't really help you there because
And
there's a
people
difference.
probably how they
Understand what I'm saying, you think?
yeah, I was gonna say people probably experience it differently. Like you hear something specific.
Yes. That's what
Me, it
happened with
was
this podcast.
huh?
This podcast
Oh,
was a thought in my head that wasn't like, we mentioned this before. Like, I'm not, this is totally outside my comfort zone. But when we would talk, I kept hearing these conversations need to be out there because they're not, they may being had, but it's, people feel alone, and these conversations need to be out there because there's too many people that feel alone and they're not. And that wasn't me just coming up with that. That was
you're like, no, no,
yeah,
no.
it kept coming up in my head. And yeah, so that's another example. Another one is, and so I followed it, and here we are. But another one, I was in high school with my best friend, and I had my first car and driving. And as you all know, if you follow our podcast, I love cars. So any chance I got, I would drive. I wouldn't want to go somewhere all the time because then I had to drive to get there. And so my friend came over, and we didn't have plans, and but I wanted to drive. So I was, and but so then we would think of a place to go and then go there, but we couldn't think of anything to do. We were 17, 18 at the time, and we just couldn't think of anything. So I had I had a feeling, and then I heard, just stay home. And I'm like, I want to go driving. So we go driving with no final destination. It was just, let's just drive around. And we got hit by a drunk driver.
Wow.
Um, and I didn't listen.
Mm.
Um, I can think of other ones too, but just that feeling of not don't do it, or even do it. You need to do this podcast, like things like that. And um, I feel like it's been a, a guide my whole life. And uh, we did this. You and I did this. We wanted to. It was Wellness Month, and we wanted to practice something that we wanted to do for our wellness. And yours was to get a morning routine, and mine
Mhm.
was to. Um, I don't want to use this word because it's used way too much, I think. So I'm just gonna say what I do, and I wanted to have a time in the day where I just quiet my mind and just like zone out. But um, in doing that, I have gotten more and more like um intuitive, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
in me doing that daily. I hear it more than me just going about my day all the time. And
Yeah.
it's unless it was for something big where I needed to pay attention, and then I would hear something. But before I would just I wouldn't get so many thoughts or intuitive thoughts until I started getting.
Keyword is meditation.
I'm trying not to say it.
Meditation is
So,
great. I mean,
I love
what?
it, but people use
Right.
it too much.
Well,
I
good. Isn't that great
I
if
mean
people?
the word. I just hear that word too much. Like it is great, and
Yeah.
I do it.
Yes.
It's changed my life, but I
Yes.
feel like if I
The
say it,
trend.
yes,
Yeah. Well,
and I hope it's not. I hope it
right.
is actual people are actually tuning in because it has, like I said, changed my life. Um, but I was trying not to go there because um I don't want to sound like a one of those people that are
Who
just
meditate?
following this trend.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Meditation's great. I think that, and there's so much about like silencing the mind, to open it up to be, because it's just we get so much noise all the time. Like it's just constant
Yes.
stimulus
Yes.
and data and
Yes.
information, and so once you clear the mind, then you can receive. Yeah, I also um I do love meditation. My meditation is different. I and there's so many different forms of meditation. um but I also, I guess for me, my intuition is really just following God's prompting in my life. That's how I view it. So sometimes,
Explain. Yes.
huh? What?
Yes, explain. Give us examples.
Well, and so yeah, that's intuition. I mean, because we have people who are watching who don't believe, people who do believe. So for me, my intuition is God's prompting in my life. And what I wanted to say was, I experience it a lot more acutely or intensely whenever I'm fasting. And for me, that is a way of like cleansing myself and cleansing, making space, like emptying myself of myself, making space so I can receive. So that was whenever you were talking about meditation, it's clearing your mind, and you had a lot of intuitive thoughts doing that. And for me, it's when I'm fasting. You have the sun in your face. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah, I do now. I wasn't looking at myself, so mm,
Scoot over a little bit. Okay. It's good. Perfect.
thank you.
Uh-huh. So yeah, I have had a lot of promptings, but I don't know, I just really struggle with it. Maybe it's pride that I take credit for the promptings more than I should. Maybe it is God speaking to
Mm,
me rather than me just being like, oh, I have this idea or inspiration. So I don't know. I surely get have like the most recent thing with our son. I knew something wasn't right and something wasn't um good, and was confirmed of that. So that was great. But I think generally I can't think of anything. Or you hear about those people like the 9/11, or if there was a plane crash or something where people were like, I just felt like I shouldn't have gotten on that plane, and then like a catastrophe happens. Like those intuitions and gut feeling, like follow that gut feeling.
yes. Uh, my husband had the. It was like when was it? 3 years ago. He was going to pick up his daughter from work, and he was driving, going to pick her up, and he said he heard not this is what I'm talking about. He had the same experience I experienced a lot. So he had he said he heard to slow down, or you don't need to go, like, take your foot off the I can't say exactly what he heard because I don't remember. But something about, like, what's the rush, because he was just driving but going like as if he was in a hurry. So he just, like, took the foot off the gas, uh and in doing that he was crossing a intersection, and he in doing that the car next to him went ahead, and someone ran the red light and hit that car. And Mariano had, um like, it was traumatic because they hit that car, not him, and he kind of, I think, had that survivor's guilt, they
Mm.
call it. Um,
Did
but
the other
he
person
listened.
die?
Yes,
Mm.
yes. But he listened to that
Yes.
voice inside,
Yeah.
that
That silly
intuition,
thing
that
that's
gut
just like,
feeling, the
don't be nervous.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all it did was, he just took the foot off the gas, like he was probably I don't know how fast he was going, but he just eased up, and that caused him to go back just enough to where he wasn't hit. Yeah, the person ran the red light, like, going way too fast, and
Mm.
yeah, there was. So I'm talking about, like, listening to that, like, when I hear
Yes.
these things now, I'm like, I have a personal guide. Like, I have a, like, yeah, just tell me what to do, please.
Be careful when you ask for that.
That's
Right.
true. That's true.
So far so good. Hey, when God spoke to JR about us moving here, when JR came home, how he described it was, it wasn't a thought and it was more than a feeling. God spoke to me. That's exactly what JR had said. And it sounds like it's a thought, but it's a voice, but it's not a feel, like it's
Yes.
intuition. Like it's
Yes.
that, like,
Yes.
yeah.
Can you please explain that? Like,
Have I
because
shared that?
I don't think you've done it on this podcast. The story of what
How we
happened,
okay.
and I'm just gonna, like, say real quick, how it's true, and intuition from God, or all these things, that because things just flow. And if it comes from yourself in your own thought, and there's, like, you get roadblocks
Barriers or
all
yeah,
along the way,
yeah,
and you're like, well, this is not this was from my own, I came up with this myself. But if
yeah,
it's an actual, like, intuition, or from God, or all the ways you could say it, it just, everything lines up. And I
yeah.
no, I don't, I'm pretty sure we didn't share this, or this, your
Okay,
journey to Ohio,
okay.
that all started from
From that moment.
intuition,
Yeah,
yeah.
he came home from work, and what's funny about that is I had just got back from a mission trip with a church to the Philippines, like 2 or 3 days before. So I just got back. JR comes home after work on Friday in December 2017, and that's what he said. He's like, "Hey, we need to talk." He's like, something crazy happened. He said, it wasn't a thought, it was more than a feeling. God spoke to me, and we need to move to Ohio. And it's so bad. But my first thought was like, what? God didn't speak to me. Like, I just came back from a mission trip. Like, why isn't God talking to me? So bad. And so I jumped on Zillow right away. I'm like, okay, let's look at houses. And you're right. Within 4 months, we had sold our house, packed up our things, shipped off our stuff, found new jobs, and we're driving across the country to Ohio. 4 months.
4 months from him
Yes,
hearing
that was in
the message.
December, like the end of December, and we were moving in April, mid-April.
It was
And
just everything flowed.
so perfectly. Yes. It's my favorite God story because how God lined everything up. It was just beautiful.
Can you tell
Does
us?
dozens of no, I mean, I maybe that will be it for another podcast. I mean, because
Okay.
it's just so amazing how God put it together, and the importance of like having faith and trusting God. Like, okay, so you have this calling. We it was a calling. He wouldn't say it was intuition or gut feeling. Like it was God speaking to him, and it was a calling. I guess terminology for this could all be kind of
Yeah.
similar experiences. And yeah, within 4 months. And what's crazy about it is it was busy. We had like so many yard sales, and we had we sold like 70-80% of our things. We donated, I think we were like 13 suburban truckloads full of stuff, donating everything, getting rid of everything, packing everything. um Quitting my job, JR transferred to a new location, and it just everything, it didn't feel like, if you think about it, doing that in 4 months, it feels like overwhelming.
Yes.
It did not feel overwhelming. So not only did he like pave it for us, but he carried us through it, really. Like when I think about it now, I'm like, how did we do that? But we didn't. It was God that really did it for us.
Mhm.
I cried a few times. I remember one time I was in the grocery store, maybe it was like three 3 weeks or 4 weeks before we were actually going to move. I was in the grocery store, and I didn't know how many quantities to buy things. Like I hadn't cried yet about the move, and I broke down in the grocery store crying like, I don't know how many creamers to buy. Like, do I buy one or two? Like we're leaving, and I don't know how much toilet paper to buy. Like that was like the thing that broke me. I felt so overwhelmed because we were just leaving in a few weeks, and I didn't know how to like, it's stupid, but yeah, we
No.
it was a really cool experience. And then moving here, and it's been an incredible blessing. And um so yeah, when you have
Yeah.
that intuition or that calling, follow it. And God,
Yes.
although I do agree, that is a great example for that. But also, like if we have an intuition to do something or a calling, there will be challenge, there can be challenges. Like life is challenging, so that shouldn't be a deterrent not to pursue. I mean, and that's all in decision making, and
Challenges.
roadblocks.
Challenges, yes, but also, um, like you said, because it, it's life. Life is contrast. Um, good, yin yang, good, bad, all the ways to say that. But I know that it's right when there's challenges, but there's also solutions. Like it's not just a showstopper. Like that's it. There's so the house I'm in right now. I I started looking for houses a year before, and I stopped when our dad passed away. I stopped looking because it was too much. Everything was too much for me. Life was too much for me. I lived like everything was happening to me. I was a victim, and I lived that way back then. And so I couldn't do anything because we just lost our dad. But a year, not a year. It wasn't even a year. It was 9 months later. I started looking again, but I wasn't stressed out. The year before, I was stressed out, and that's when I
The
asked
right time.
our dad, I need your help. I
Mhm.
don't know what I'm doing. Like I was stressed out, and then he passed away. So I stopped, and like I said, like 9 months later, I started again, but I was not. I was just like I'm just gonna whatever. It wasn't stressful for me. I don't know. I Let me try
Uh,
to explain it
no,
better.
I totally get it. And you had peace about it. So whether
Yeah.
if you had made a bid and it fell through or made an offer or whatever, like it just you were allowing it to flow. Like it was
I
you
was
had,
allowing it to
yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I looked at houses, you know, not even that many. I looked at like 8 houses before I found this one. And every house that I didn't like, I wasn't like, oh, I'm never going to find a house, or because that also goes through your mind when you're looking and you keep finding not good houses. But I was like, exactly. I had peace about it, and I knew it would happen. I just didn't know how or when. And this house was just exactly what I wanted and needed at the time, and it went through so smoothly. Like, and it was the first house I've ever bought, and those usually don't go smoothly. I've heard, and um, yeah, and it was. I feel like I followed my inner guidance, my intuition, God talking to me, my gut feeling. I'm just naming all the things that you could call it. and I still feel like there's this calmness in this house that I've never felt in a home before. Um, and I still do. I feel like this house was made for me. It's
Um, that
oh
makes me think about, I'm gonna pivot just a little bit, but I have
yeah,
a story about our when we sold our house to move to Ohio. But before that, thinking about what you put out, you get back. Like in counseling on just a couple of days ago, me and my husband were talking about this with our counselor. Like if you have a belief system, like perhaps um, I'm a victim of my own life or everything goes wrong. When you go out to house hunt, everything is going to go wrong. First of all,
yeah,
because you believe that as like a core belief. And so how you perceive things happening, that's how you're seeing it, is that things are going, like you said, like, oh, I'm never going to find a house, or you didn't feel that way the second time, but the first time you were
yes,
tense or whatever. Second time, you know what, whatever happens, you were more positive about it, had peace, no, and look at what happened. Like what we put out, we get back, and how we perceive things is what we experience. And what a beautiful example of that too. Just
that's so true, Desiree.
yes.
I like I said, at that time in my life, I did live that way.
Yeah.
I thought I lived the victim mentality, and everything happens to me, all the best that happens to me. Of course, this and this happened because it would, because I suck, or
Yeah.
I thought that way all the time about everything. And I like in this situation with buying a house, I still thought that way about life. But in for when I found this house, and it really felt like I was guided to this house. But everything else, like I always felt like, why me? And I looked at life that way, and it has completely changed. I don't look at life like that at all. I get so excited about great, like I see everything magic. I'm gonna tell you, like this is totally off what we're talking about, but this is how like I view things now. Um, what I'm gonna share, it starts off sad, but it's actually it's a cute story. Uh, Remember a few podcasts ago, I'm outside and we see Roxy, and I told you my
Yeah.
dog, and I told you that she was old, and I'm not sure how much longer we have. So I love that she made an appearance on a couple of podcasts of ours. Um, we did have to end up putting her down because she did get sick, and she couldn't stand anymore. So that's not where I had to give you the foundation of the story. So this happened 3 weeks ago, and my son was asking me last weekend if we could get a puppy, and I explained it wouldn't be fair for the puppy right now because we're never home. We work, you're at school, the puppy would be by himself all the time, and he needs a lot of attention, and it wouldn't be fair right now. So we're not going to get a puppy. And he is so cute. He was like, okay. He didn't say okay, but I just saw him thinking, and then he said, then can I get a snail?
Snail.
He said, does snails need a lot of attention? I said, I don't think so. I'll look into it and we'll see about getting some snails for you.
That is
But what I love is that, okay, I was at work and I was gonna tell my coworker about this story, and as I walk into her office, you'll never guess, what was on her desk. A snail tape dispenser.
oh.
And this kind of stuff excites me. I just like, I went in there going to tell her about this story because it's just so adorable.
Yeah.
And who has snail tape dispensers? And what I love is that, like, I just see connections all the time
Yeah.
uh
Beautiful.
in life.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you're looking for it. Yes, I'm looking
Yeah.
for it. It makes life so exciting and magical, and everything's connected. And if you are looking for something that nothing works right, then nothing is going to work right.
Right.
But if you're looking for something, like, I'm always looking for something magical or something, and something magical always happens because I'm looking for it. And yes, it's so awesome and refreshing and exciting.
Exciting.
So things like that happen to me daily, and I just get so excited about it.
Yes, I love that. I have to share with you what happened to me today. I also same thing. Those little things are humongous to me. Like when different things in my life come, and it's just confirmation. Like you're where you're supposed to be. Like life is good. Like I love it too. Seek and you shall find. It's one of my favorite Bible verses.
Yes,
So
in either way, negative or positive. But
yes,
I look for positive now all the time.
what happened today was I've been feeling sad about, yeah, I guess sad or emotional about Nana passing away. Our grandmother passed away 2 years ago, and September 20, or she passed away in September, right? September 2021. And I
Yeah.
don't think I fully processed it. Like it was a whirlwind when um, I went down to visit her and she was like really on her deathbed. And then she passed away a little while later. And then it was her funeral in November. And it just was a crazy time for me that I didn't really process it. And she lived a beautiful life. It wasn't like tragic or traumatic in that way. Like we knew she was passing. And so I just, anyways, I've been feeling sad. And um, I've been thinking about her. And then this morning, well, let me share this with you. I took this picture September 10th, 2021, when I first walked into her room to visit her, when I went down to visit her. She lives in Sacramento. This beautiful song was playing on the they had worship music playing, and the song is called Bless the Lord, oh my soul. And there's this verse, on this day when my life is failing, like it was just, it touched me, and like I got teary-eyed. It was just a beautiful moment I had with Nana to hear that song playing. And so that's a side note. This morning, today, a Facebook memory popped up that I shared this morning, and you're gonna like this. um January 7th, 2018. It's a picture of me and Nana. And what I was sharing was that had a glass of wine together, and I offered her another one, and she says, "Oh no, mija, if I have another one, I'm gonna start singing La Cucaracha." She just was so funny. So that memory popped up, and so I shared that on my Facebook page this morning. And then on the way to church, that song, "Bless the Lord, oh my soul," came on the radio, and I was like, JR, like that song was so meaningful. I took a picture when I went to visit her in September, and I've been missing her today, and I posted it on Facebook, and now this song is playing right now. Like, I just was marveling in the moment. So I agree. I love all those little, you guys, if you're not looking for these synchronicities or these commonalities or God speaking to us in different ways through our life, you need to open your eyes, because
It's
it is
happening
magical and
all the
beautiful.
time.
And
Yeah.
yes, it happens all the time. I love it.
Yes,
Snail.
I
So,
love it.
does he have a snail?
Not yet. I want to get like a little like
Hermit crab or
home thing,
oh,
yeah. And I want to, yes, I need to buy, I need to get that, but yeah, I want to take him and have him pick insects.
okay. I'm like,
Uh,
where do you get a snail outside?
well, outside, obviously, but you mentioned hermit crabs, so I'm thinking of doing that because several people have mentioned that to
Yeah.
me for him. And yeah, so well, he has a fish that he doesn't take care of that I do now. So I'm just like, well, maybe I'll take care of a hermit crab. I don't know if I'll do very well with the snail. I might
This
accidentally give it salt.
this is a great motivator. We got to use all these motivators as parents. Like, having a pet is a big responsibility. You just have to prove that you can put your shoes away when you get home from school. You don't have his list. That you do your homework.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, that you do your homework
I,
every day. It's a responsibility to have a pet, and you are responsible, but you just need to show me that you're responsible for 1 month or whatever. And then I did that with Ruby. My daughter, she wants a pet too. And so I was months ago, I'm like, you have to show me. And she's so motivated to be responsible. Mom, I unloaded the dishwasher without you asking me. Or I'm like, you're very responsible. Good job. Keep it up. As a motivator. We
that's
need
great.
all the things we could get, right?
I love that. I didn't even think of that. Thank you. I'm gonna do that.
Yes,
Yes.
good. He could get a Valentine's Day hermit crab. I love these conversations about all of this stuff. First of all, Michelle, we have not talked in a few weeks, and this was so lovely just to see your face and catch up. And I was thinking, as we were talking about intuition and um, all the things we were talking about, I can't believe that you remember that from elementary school. I mean, I should, because, and we've talked about it on the podcast before, about Michelle has an incredible memory. Like, I'll call her, like, do I remember this correctly? She's like the family historian, but that is incredible that you remember it the first time of having this like intuition in like 8th grade
Third grade, but I
or 3rd grade, 8 years old.
8 years old, but okay, before we'll talk about that. But I do want to say, because I had this same conversation with my husband about remembering things, because I told him a memory about elementary school, and he was like, "That's ridiculous. You remember when you were
In you
4 or 6
or
or
yeah.
7, or I forgot what it was." And I told him, okay, I don't remember every day. I don't remember uh yeah, I don't it's not like I remember every day of my childhood. There's just a lot of, have you seen the movie what's that movie with the all the emotion, it's called no, Disney movie, about animated Pixar movie about
Inside Out. Oh yeah.
Inside
Inside
Out.
Out.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Inside Out. So in that movie they show like core memories, and it rolls into a ball and then they stores in the person's brain. So it's more of like I have a lot more of those marbles or balls. I don't remember every day. That's what I'm trying to get at. I remember things that impacted me in one way or another, and that's why I remember it versus remembering every just a regular day.
Hold on. Something about that. Because you're a lot more sensitive. This is actually a little bit profound to me because you're a lot more sensitive than me. Just between you and I. So maybe those little occurrences that happened to you impacted you more. You felt them deeply and you remembered them versus me not being so sensitive about things. I just don't remember. Huh?
Very true.
Maybe I don't know.
How is your daughter and her memories? Because she's also a sensitive person.
I haven't asked her about her childhood. I don't know. Not good. I think she has a memory like mine. I don't, is it
Oh,
genetic? Oh
okay.
no. That theory's off then. If it scratch that, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say it's not every day. I don't remember every day of my childhood. I just things that impacted me in one way or another. It stayed in marble in my head. I got lots of marbles. um, yeah. So I did want to say thank you for bringing that up. That moment that happened in third grade. I've That's a sister confession. I've never shared that story or anything with anyone. I actually talking about these things uh, is a little bit uh I'm a little bit apprehensive to like get more into it. I'm bringing it up, but there's a lot more that I could talk about, but I haven't shared these things before. Uh, the only people that know this is you because I talk to you a lot about it, but my husband and that's it. Um, so I haven't really talked about it much. So and in that instance of elementary school, I've never shared that with anyone. I've always kept that very close to me because it was the start of I don't know what, just I guess your intuition, but I actually have a more than a feeling. It's actual like words that are spoken to me, but like I said, I don't hear it. It's not like I hear voices on the outside. It's something that's inside me that it's a thought that's not my thought. That's the only way I could describe it. And I actually was talking to someone about this um, a few weeks ago, and I was like, and I was like describing it, and she was like, no. And I was like, oh my gosh,
You need to
what do you
meditate more.
mean?
Did you tell her to meditate? She probably doesn't meditate
No,
either.
no. I was just like, oh my, I thought it like everyone has it, they
Yeah,
just don't pay attention. And then if I bring it up, they'd be like, oh yeah. But it was just no.
I
And
love that.
I
More to come. This is like a beautiful conversation to have down the road. There's a lot more to this. It sounds like, Michelle. I would love to talk with you more. But we also want to hear your guys' thoughts. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to our channel and you'll get notification when we have a new podcast. We would love to hear if there's anything you want to talk about, anything you want to hear us talk about. We're just here being real and sharing our journeys and hoping to encourage and inspire all of our listeners. And what I also want to know is, do you remember the first time you had this intuition? Michelle says she remembers when she's 4. I don't know if I remember any time until recently, but my memory's not good. I'm going to have to think about it more. But if you guys had this crazy, I had this gut feeling and I followed through with it and it saved me from this or that. We would love to hear these stories. This is
Yes.
how is building this community and sharing stories and positivity and encouragement and helping each other along the way. So yeah, I think this is a wrap for today. What do you any last thoughts?
No, that was good.
All right, good. Well,
Yes.
tune in. We're back
Please,
on track.
please though, please, sorry, I said no, but please do share your stories because I would love to read those.
And if you know anyone who might be impacted or someone who who's very intuitive, share this podcast with them too. We're growing and getting the word out. So we're back on track every week. That's the goal. And so tune in next week. We'll have another podcast with another fun conversation. So we'll see you later. Bye, Michelle.
Bye.